assisting a wealthy elite, including individuals from this state, to conceal wealth and to avoid tax was publicised this weekend. The Swiss branch of HSBC advised clients on how to keep money hidden from state authorities and offered deals to aid and abet tax dodgers. And Irish money held in this bank in which due tax was not paid is ultimately, I'm sure you will agree, money taken from ordinary citizens here. Citizens like the 530 who lie today on hospital trolleys, including 50 in Our Lady of Lourdes in my own constituency. So the people who pay the price are these citizens. Money is taken from Irish hospitals, from schools, from children's benefits, from carers' allowances, allowances from children with disabilities, from the elderly. Now, the Swiss HSBC account contained 3.1 billion. I repeat that, Taoiseach, 3.1 billion euros linked to 350 clients associated for Ireland. Yet only 20 Irish account holders made settlements with the Revenue Commissioners worth just over 4.5 million. Unlike the anti-water charge activists, there were no early morning raids, there were no arrests. In the USA, in France, in Belgium and Argentina, this bank now faces criminal investigation. But not here, Taoiseach. Not in the smallest, best country in the world in which to avoid tax if you're wealthy. So why did the Revenue Commissioners not pursue a case against HSBC for facilitating tax evasion by Irish citizens? As I've said previously, Irish accounts contain 3.1 billion held by 350 clients. Does the Taoiseach believe that 4.55 million be a reasonable amount for the state to have recovered in tax settlements? And finally, does the Taoiseach agree that this scandalous and corrupt behaviour is a matter for the Public Accounts Committee to investigate?
Thank you. Well, I'd say to Deputy Adams that the existence of a foreign bank account is not evidence in itself of tax evasion, and clearly no liability will arise where relevant tax is paid on funds or any interest accruing on them. But I would say to you, Deputy, that the Revenue Commissioners received data under the double taxation agreement from the French authorities back in June of 2010. And on receipt of that particular data, the Revenue Commissioners undertook an assessment, they undertook an evaluation process, which indicated that no further liability arose in the state in a number of cases, and that further investigation would be required in a number of other cases. And where required, the Revenue, as is their responsibility, initiated an investigation. Now, to date, Revenue have initiated 33 investigations as a direct result of the data received, and there have been 20 settlements, Ceann Comhairle, related to that particular information. The total amount received was, as Deputy Adams indicated, €4.55 million. A further €174,444 has been received to date as payment on account in 2 investigations which are currently ongoing. And Revenue took relevant action in any case where sufficient admissible evidence was available to bring a criminal prosecution in relation to any identified revenue offences. And to date, 3 prosecutions have been secured and 1 other case is currently under criminal investigation. So the Revenue Commissioners are perfectly entitled under the responsibility given to them by the Act to take criminal cases where they believe that that's appropriate, and that's what they're doing and that's what they have done to date.
Deputy Adams.
Well, you didn't answer the 2 important questions which I put to you, and I'll come back to that in a second. Taoiseach, I think we all know that it was the activities of some of the banks and a small wealthy elite facilitated by some politicians which caused the financial crash in this state. It's also not that well known that 62 billion in private bank loans were in the hands of just 190 individuals. It's not that well known that half the Irish bank loan of Anglo-Irish Bank was held by just 20 individuals. So there the people, aided and abetted by others in the Golden Circle, who impoverished the vast majority of citizens in this state. But have the government here learned a lesson? of this experience? Appears to me that you haven't. For example, Michael Gagan was the chief executive of HSBC.
Please don't mention names, deputies.
Sorry,
please don't mention names in the chamber. It's not the...
I'm stating the fact. He was the chief executive of the HSBC, at the time that its Swiss operation facilitated tax evasion. Now, your government knew this, yet the Finance Minister, Michael Noonan, appointed Mr Gagan as an advisor to the government on the operation of NAMA. So, Taoiseach, did Minister Noonan ask Mr Gagan about the HSBC prior to his appointment to NAMA? And back to the earlier two questions which you didn't answer. One, do you think that the return of 4.55 million when there are 3.1 billion linked to 350 clients to be a reasonable tax settlement? And more importantly, and I would like a direct, clear answer to this question, do you agree that this behaviour is a matter for the Public Accounts Committee to investigate?
Could I just say that it's a long-established practice in this House since the foundation of the state that we don't mention names of people who are not here to defend themselves. So I'd appreciate if that long-established principle would be maintained. Taoiseach.
Thank you, Concordia. I respect your ruling here. The position is that Deputy Adams is questioning the Revenue Commissioners. You are suggesting that their investigations should have yielded more than 4.55 million. Well, I don't speak for the Revenue Commissioners, nor do you. They have very extensive powers under the Act which sets them up. And the Revenue Commissioners are well able to speak for themselves. They initiated 33 investigations as a direct result of the data given to them by the French authorities in June of 2010. And 20 settlements have been reached in regard to that data. And that amounts to 4.55 million. And a further €174,442 as received on payment on account in respect of 2 ongoing investigations. Now, you're asking me to question the authority or the way that the Revenue Commissioners have gone about investigating information that they were given by the French authorities in respect of which they've taken 3 criminal cases and another case is currently under criminal investigation. So the Public Accounts Committee, with the Chairman, I'm quite sure, can reflect upon this. But the Revenue Commissioners are completely independent in the way they do their business and they have very extensive powers to take criminal cases, which they have done under what they've said here. In respect of your second comment, Mr Gagan, Minister of Finance, the person mentioned was referred to by the Minister for Finance, and he advised, not in respect of taxation issues, but in respect of remuneration of senior executives and other issues of the strategy proposed by NAMA. Now, I finally say this to you. It's peculiar, you know, for you. I tend to remind you of this. I tend to remind you of this all the time, because every time Minister Noonan will answer that question himself when he replies to questions here. I don't know the conversations that any minister have had in their entirety, but let me assure you that Minister Noonan has been very clear in the work that the person that he appointed was asked to do, and that was in respect of the strategy proposed by NAMA. Now, I want to remind you again that every time you get up here, you have all the answers to all the questions. Yet you're the person who continues to say that the EU should take their money and go away, and you don't want the Irish taxpayer to get back money that they put into AIB. I remind you of those 2 black holes in your economic policy, and I remind you of it every day that I can do so.
Thank you, Deputy Daly.